what we kind of realized is if we can take the friction out of the relationship between those distributors and their manufacturers and almost make them work as one entity so that they can work together to better serve the customer does get a better service.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I am joined by my guest, Andrew Butt, who's based in San Francisco, California, co-founder and CEO of Enable. Good to have you on, Andrew.
Great to be here, Alexander.
So now, Enable, if I understand correctly, is your focus on helping supply chain digitization. So a platform to bring together the distributors, retailers, to the suppliers and manufacturers, particularly in the rebates environment, or as on your site, you say, so much more than rebate management software. Help me understand, Andrew, where did you guys begin with the problem? Like what problem did you see and you say, hey, we can solve this?
Sure. Yeah, so the idea started when my co-founder and I met back in the UK. We were actually both learning to fly at the time, learning to fly helicopters, so we got chatting. And he was running what was already a very successful distribution business in the UK. And that has now actually gone on to be the largest, most successful distributor of health, beauty and household products in the UK. And we were chatting about how a lot of the success and importance in that business was having great trading programs and joint business plans with the brands, with the manufacturers. So he had companies like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Gillette, all these sorts of people who want to get their product to market, and he was their distributor. So having those joint business plans in place was very, very important. And the currency of all of those plans was rebates. So really incentives, a bit like sales commission to a sales team, but this is between a manufacturer and a distributor. So to answer your question, managing all of that was important, but difficult and messy, and was being done on Excel spreadsheets. There was a lack of software on the market. So that is where the idea came from.
So you saw the problem with your friend that, okay, he had a great opportunity. He was building a beautiful business, but the relationship between the manufacturer and to the end distributor and supplier, that needed help in providing a software so that didn't have to waste so much time in Excel spreadsheets.
Exactly, and I think that there's so much kind of focus on the relationship between kind of companies and their customers, and lots of innovation with e-commerce and collaboration tools in that direction. But kind of going backwards, if you like, into the supply chain was kind of almost completely void. There was just nothing there. So huge opportunity.
Now, we talked about this a little bit ago about just laying the scope of this, how much value and transaction is happening here. You mentioned third of the GDP goes through distributors to retailers, so $30 trillion, but there's very poor tech layer in that environment. We also talked about how, like, okay, there's tech companies like Amazon that are dominating the space. And so other retailers and providers, suppliers, distributors, how do they win? How do they win against Amazons?
Sure. No, great question. And what we found across so many sectors, and whether it was health and beauty and household like TCS, or whether it's construction or electrical or automotive components, about 50 different verticals where there's physical goods. What we found is distributors have an amazing relationship with customers. They know customers personally. They understand the particular geographic area. And they understand the products that they sell and can help their customers to implement those and install those products. Okay, and also distributors tend to be independently owned and very entrepreneurial. So that's all the value a distributor brings, and then of course the products that the distributors taking to market are all the same leading products from all the brands that we've heard of. So what we kind of realized is if we can take the friction out of the relationship between those distributors and their manufacturers and almost make them work as one entity so that they can work together to better serve the customer does get a better service. Okay, rather than dealing with some massive kind of national entity which is anonymous and doesn't understand the market, doesn't understand the geography, doesn't understand the customer. This is the opportunity.
That win-win-win type of scenario. It's interesting when you describe how distributors have that relationship and understand their market. it's kind of interesting because we're going into a tech-enabled world where you can buy anything online anywhere. So do you think the role of a distributor is still relevant?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it depends on product category. So where there are products that you can just very easily, put in the mail and it's lightweight and end user facing and easy to use, then the distributor is often not required. But with so many types of products, they are complex, they are heavy, they are bulky. Customers need extra help in installing them. They want some consolidation, so they don't just want individual, deliveries turning up. They want to be able to go to one place and have the complete solution. And as I say, we can count around 50 verticals where this is the case. It's more B2B than B2C, by the way. So this is more kind of business customers. But the role of distribution is vitally important and will continue, forever.
Now, for you guys, how's your product evolved now over time since you started there with your friend? You saw that challenge, and where do you see it headed in the future?
Sure. Yeah, so where we started was very much as a financial tool. So it was recognizing that these rebates coming in typically from suppliers into the distributors, as I mentioned earlier, it's like sales commission. And the manufacturers are incentivizing the distributor to sell certain products in certain volumes and hit certain targets and get them into particular customers. And so it started out almost being a tracker for all of that commission, and calculating it correctly, making sure it was being claimed in full. So it's a financial tool. But then where it's evolved is into much more of a commercial platform to help to actually negotiate and set up these deals in the first place and come up with, as you said, a win-win deal, which is good for all parties, and then make sure that deal is being executed well. And it's become a lot more collaborative, where rather than just being an internal tool that finance department use, now we've actually got suppliers and distributors all logging on together and exchanging information and collaborating on those deals online. So that probably is the evolution, and we're continuing to build on that, and it's becoming more like a marketplace where you've now got these two sides, these distributors and these manufacturers coming together online, and it's a much more interactive environment than just being an internal finance tool.
What can you share as far as stats around the evolution and the engagement right now on it?
Sure. So we've now got, at the last count, I think 40,000 trading partners that our customers have set up and represented within the product. And of those, we have many, many thousands of them. We're approaching, I think, around 10,000 who are actively using and actually logging into the product. The others have been kind of set up, but they're not yet actively using it. So, and that, to give you some perspective, that was at kind of probably 2,000 only 2 years ago. So we've probably gone from 2,000 organizations to 40,000 in about 2 years.
That is impressive growth right there. Now, what would you say is some of the challenges that come along with, is it the distributor that's saying, hey, I really see the value because I want to be able to track my commission, to be able to get that? And then is it difficult to get the suppliers on, or is it vice versa? And how are you working on solving that?
Yeah. So it does depend, and it depends on each company and on the trading relationships they have in terms of where that power sits. But I think the important thing is this is about driving mutually profitable growth, and it's back to that win-win again, which is that the manufacturer wants to sell more products and they want to hit their goals. They want to launch new products into the market, and they want to try and drive behavior really in the supply chain. So they want those goals to be met, and then the distributor wants to do a great job for the customer and make a good margin, and be rewarded for doing that good job. So this really is creating a win-win for everyone.
Andrew, I like how clearly you make it. It's like, manufacturers want to sell more and distributors want to sell more. So let's all help each other sell more and make everyone happy.
Yeah, but absolutely. And I think, again, it is about serving the customer better. So back to your kind of mention of how does this help customers and why are distributors relevant these days? At the end of the day, this is about providing a great service to the customer, and that is provided by the manufacturer and the distributor coming together. Okay, and the distributor is adding a lot of value beyond what the manufacturer can do to serve the customer. So both of those entities, yes, they want to drive profitable growth, and they also both want to serve their customers better as well.
Now, something we had talked about before was about what happens when you put distributors with the manufacturers and being able to innovate and innovators in the manufacturing space. Can you dive into that a little bit more?
Well, I see that manufacturers are innovators and then they're not close to customer. There's a few exceptions, isn't there? So Tesla and Apple, for example, they own the whole kind of supply chain, but that's unusual. Most companies are very good at innovating, and then they're running very efficient factories, and it's all about quality and efficiency, for example. Whereas distributors are much more about customer relationships and being in the field and understanding again the local market and what projects are going on. So it's a very different DNA, really, a manufacturer and a distributor. And this again is about bringing that together into a much more seamless supply chain.
What can you speak of as far as on your roadmap of what's coming up next that you can share?
Sure. Well, I mean, we are making our product more and more flexible for different types of deals. So you mentioned rebates, and that's really a type of deal. But there are many other types of deals as well, which go on between these trading partners, between manufacturers and distributors. And go back a few years, most of them were quite undynamic because, again, people didn't have tools to track them properly. So you just had annual deals where you hit some targets and then at the end of the year you get some money. It's really simple. But now it's much more dynamic. These deals are customer specific, product specific. They might be running for just a month rather than a year, and it helps to drive behavior in a much more kind of much more specific way. So we're making our software more and more flexible, easier and easier to use, and we're also making it much more accessible and affordable because we want to democratize all of this deal management and rebate management. And anyone that any business, I should say, that has these deals, we want them to be able to just log on to enable.com and do this easily, quickly, and cost effectively.
Speaking of just the logistics of your platform itself, monthly, annual SaaS model subscription, and who's paying? How does that work?
Yeah, sure. So it's a SaaS model for sure. Typically, annual subscription is the way our customers work. And we started out where distributors were our customer, and so they were paying to use our software. Because this rebate income is often all of their margin, it's all of their profit, and they want to manage it well. They're leaking this essential income. So distributors pay, and then they can invite their suppliers to collaborate with them free of charge. Okay, but what then happened was a lot of those suppliers said, well, actually, we want to use this with our other customers. We want to be a full user, not just a kind of collaborator. So they then started paying as well. And it's kind of now more balanced in terms of suppliers and distributors.
Very cool, very cool. And if you were to share a word of advice or just a tip to either distributor or supplier in today's environment with your knowledge, what would you share?
Well, I think there is real value in, and it is a cliche, isn't it? But in having a strategic relationship and having transparency in. So if you and I, let's say you are the distributor and I'm the manufacturer, I'm saying to you, look, let's work together. Let's create a genuine joint business plan of what I'm trying to achieve, how I think you can help, what are you trying to achieve. Let's capture all of that into a plan, and let's track it online together and make sure it happens. And let's be committed to making it happen. I think sometimes it's much more that there's a mistrust between manufacturers and distributors, and that there isn't that genuine collaborative relationship. It's almost, how can I get more money out of you, or how can you get more money out of me? But I think my advice is use technology, be transparent, and you literally will drive mutually profitable growth by doing that.
I love that you paint technology as a helpful tool in bringing transparency and trust.
Yes.
In today's environment, which is crucial.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing your insights on Enable. For those that want to learn more, you can go to enable.com, and then looks like you can try it for free and take it for a spin. And if you'd like to hear more about Andrew's story, stick around for part 2 of our discussion where we'll be able to hear more about his founding journey to get to where he is today. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.